have an apology to make.
All right. You do one and I'll do one.
Hunter Tyson, I was not familiar with your game. I got to be honest. When I watched the film, when he came out of the draft, I was like, oh, he could be, a smart player. He hustles. He can shoot. You can always just use another shooter who's going to work hard. I don't know if I've ever been more wrong about a player in the entire time I've been a Nuggets fan, as far as Nuggets draftees. Even Bol had good games.
This is true.
Even Bol had moments where you were like, oh, I kind of see what this was supposed to be. Hunter Tyson, there's been nothing. There has been no point at which, see, guys, you see the vision. There's been no vision. There's no. He can't shoot.
Is he the first player in Nuggets history where he's been so bad that people are looking at the TV going, God dang it, give me Zeke Naji?
Yes, probably. But also, Zeke's had some moments this year where he's looked okay. I'm not saying it's consistent, but he's had some moments. So I want to give him his props in that way. He's not the worst player in the league. But
Zeke,
yeah, I've never been more wrong about Hunter Tyson. That's what I want to say. And I apologize to anybody that I said Hunter Tyson could be a guy too.
Zeke is absolutely fine if you ask him to do 3 things and no more. Tell him to set screens, go to the corner on offense, catch and shoot threes if you're open, and try to rebound. Whenever they try to throw him the ball, like with a guy anywhere near him, it usually doesn't work. So I don't know why Jokic keeps passing him the ball and then Zeke fumbles it and then Jokic gets mad. I'm like, dude, at some point it's on you, dude. Like, I know Jokic slander isn't really appreciated in Nuggets Nation, but I'm just like, hey, man, I don't know if you're trying to prove a point to the coaching staff or what, but it's like Zeke doesn't have good hands. So even if you hit him in the chest, like he's probably just going to lose the ball or get swatted. Like he doesn't have a back to the basket game unless he's wide open. They got to stop feeding Zeke the ball in the half court, like in the painted area.
I don't mind it as a play finisher. I get that he's not as good as Aaron Gordon at that particular play, like playing the short corner, going
not
up,
as good,
finishing
great.
that
It's like
play.
the Grand Canyon. It's like Aaron's one of the best in the league. Zeke is one of the worst on the earth.
More damning to me is when they try to play through him in like the high post. Or just kind of post him up in any way, in any
processing
capacity,
is rough,
and try to have him like play through him explicitly. I think that is like even more of a mistake tactically. If he misses a short corner pass and it goes out of bounds, all right, there's like 3 of those a game. It's not going to be a high volume thing. If you hit him in the corner,
3-and-D guy. That's what you got to treat him as.
Exactly. I think if you treat him exactly that way, have him stay out of the way for the most part, have him be...
And that's what they've been doing with Spencer Jones, and I feel like it's working beautifully.
Yeah, where Spencer, his shot is horrifically ugly.
It's very strange.
He's at 40% on the year. Crazy enough. And I think part of it is that just his role offensively is so narrow. Like he has 15 seconds to think about, okay, I'm in the corner. They're going to run offense. They might pass me the ball. I need to be prepared to shoot. And maybe his form is not bad, but at least the focus is there. That he's recognizing.
Is he an NBA player? I don't know, but he's definitely
he's
playing
a starter.
Winning basketball. He's playing winning basketball, right?
Yeah. He's doing and giving something that Denver really needs in that defensive role, especially without AG. It is wild that he is a starter, and kind of what we were alluding to earlier, I think it's a big marker of how short Denver is in terms of depth defensively. Like offensively, they've got 10 guys who can put up a $140 a night. Defensively, not so much, but that's okay because you have Spencer Jones and now it's becoming an interesting question where what do you do with him contractually? Because he is a two-way player. And at some point, especially if he's starting these games, he will run out of games to play.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that as far as how Denver should handle? Is that a place where you use the last roster spot? Is there a move to be made? Um, do you sign him now or do you sign him later? If you do sign him at all.
Yeah, I think it's actually like a good opportunity to just kind of sit and wait and not do anything panic wise because AG is going to be out for at least another month, at least another month. And this is going to be a good amount of time for him to show you what he can and can't do. Even though we mostly can see that, how consistent can he be, right? Can he hit a corner three against the Rockets or the Lakers, not just the Suns? I think he can, but we also like need time to see that. Um, and if he can prove to you that he can be like a decent like role guy, I don't see why you wouldn't convert him before the playoffs, just in case you need the depth, right? In case like AG pulls up, muscle again and has to miss some time, at least you can have that option. And then I don't know enough about the books. I just know that you can convert him to the last spot. And if there's another player out there that's either going to be a buyout or you really need to add, you can cut Hunter Tyson. Like, again, I don't know the exact rules of the math. Like, I know that might hurt our luxury tax or whatever, but I'm pretty sure legally they can still sign him and maybe, sign another guy. It would just cost more money to cut Hunter Tyson, but I just don't see any use for Hunter Tyson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've said all I can really say about Hunter Tyson. His game in theory might have been helpful, but in practice, it just isn't happening. So, would not mind cutting him.
Well, I guess it's my turn to make an apology. I I think I believe I said after the preseason, even though we had a pretty solid preseason, I said that I was out on Peyton Watson, and I'm definitely eating some crow right now. He's off to the best start he's had in his career. I believe I saw some stats that said he's like 15-6 a game, like when he's starting. So, I mean, he's been productive and he's been really confident. I mean, I was watching the post game interview the other day with Scott Hathens was talking to him. He's like, "Hey, you made 5 threes, 5 for 12." But he's like, the most important thing I thought was, you know, he's like a young Peyton misses the first couple and he starts getting past it, but you missed your first two and you kept firing it up. And Payton's like, yeah, I got the confidence to keep shooting and my teammates have the confidence in me. So it's really cool to see. It's always cool to see growth, in players. And I think he's really starting to find his groove. Like obviously there's still things that can be better. The finishing is not great, but I really do enjoy just the bounce, right? Like Jokic finds him so often because teams are just tired or just forgetting about him. And I didn't know he was gonna ever become this kind of shooter. I'm not saying he's like knocked down yet, but just at least becoming streaky, right? He used to just be like a wide open. It's like, oh dear, here we go. But he's had quite a few good games now of knocking him down. So
Yeah,
there's been a
I
lot of
mean,
talk about like if the Nuggets are going to be able to afford him or not. And the way I look at it is like, look, we don't know yet how the season's going to end, but if you're close, if you're right there, you really can't afford to let him walk. I honestly don't care what the price is because you made this investment, 4 years ago, and you basically took like a 2-year detour where Booth said like this is more about the long term. So it doesn't make any sense at all to like screw up 2024 and 2025 and then let a guy you drafted in the first round walk. Like figure it out. So if he keeps playing well, he's basically like the AG replacement long term, I think. So if you end up having to trade Cam or CB or AG down the line, maybe you do that. But I just don't think you can let a guy this age walk.
yeah, no, I'm fully on board with that. I would love to see him stay in Denver at least through his next contract or something along the lines. Unless you can get a really good deal on the trade market, where I don't know what that would look like, but a trade evaluation is always in the nuance and what do you get and what do you give up and what are the implications and all that stuff. But as long as Peyton is on the team, he's doing so much that the team needs, and doing it in a way that scales up or down is how it feels. Denver needing
Well, and
him as a
what you
starter.
really need though, Ray, is like he fills a crucial role on the team, right? Like he's clearly the best perimeter defender. So if you do trade Peyton, you need to make sure the skill set coming back is a guy who can give you 20 to 25 minutes of good perimeter defense and not be completely useless on offense.
Correct. I would say, we were talking a little bit about the KCP absence earlier, especially as a screen navigator, and I think Peyton is premium in the NBA right now as that, in a way that even I don't think KCP can sustain in 2025. To the point that I'm happy with. I'm not saying I'm glad KCP is gone, but did I want to pay KCP 25 million a year to be his 33-year-old self? I can't say I do.
He's been
Especially
rough.
when, yeah. So super happy, excited to see him shine in the way that he has. Even some of the things that he's struggled the most with. I mean, offensively, he's shooting 51% from the field, which is fifth on the team, and he's shooting, is it 39% from three in the regular season. So I
Yeah.
could not be more satisfied with him as a player. And I think it presents some really interesting questions for Denver going forward, not just on the trade market, but also in their identity. One of the things that I think the team has struggled with so far that people talk about a lot as well is the closing, the clutch, the crunch time, right? How do they close games and can they do that well? Well, I think part of what is so difficult about that is that I don't know if Denver knows what its best 5-man unit is.
I was actually about to ask you that because I was gonna say like the I think if we had to grade this first month of the Nugget season, we'd probably say B plus, right? Like they've been good, but they could have been better. They've dropped a couple of games where it's like, yeah, you could have won that one. But they're
Mhm.
in a good spot. They're not. It's not like they like need to make up a ton of ground. I mean, I'm not saying, if you thought the Nuggets were going to be the 1 seed, you're disappointed. But I was always thinking like 2 seed should be the goal for this team. OKC is just they're a beast. But Jokic has been historically efficient. Murray's off to the best start of his career. So I'm happy to see that. I know I've been predicting it for years, but this year
It's
it
finally
looks like
here.
it finally came together. But
Only
yeah,
took a decade.
my question is why are they struggling in the clutch? Is there a specific answer? Is it like familiarity? Is it teams aren't scared of them? Is it just that the defense is porous? But like you said, what is their best five? I think it's the starters when they're all healthy, but I don't know for sure either.
I don't think it's the starters when they're all healthy, because the starters don't include Peyton Watson when they're all healthy, unless it does. It's creating some interesting questions because with AG out and with Christian out, how do you reintegrate those guys into the lineup? Do you just put them right back? A big question for David Adelman is, do you put them right back into a starting role, especially when they're coming off, like AG, I think it's his hamstring, and I can't recall exactly what is it, Christian's ankle, right? So they're both kind of,
He tore some ligaments in his foot actually,
oh,
unfortunately. But yeah.
so it's
But
it's the kind of thing where, do you want to throw them back into a 30 plus minute role immediately? And is that the best thing for the team?
yeah, see, that's like a fascinating thing I've been thinking about now is I actually love Christian off the bench, but is he cool with that? He just got the big money deal that doesn't kick until next year. But this is what's so fascinating about team building, right? Ray is like I think a lot of Nuggets fans have looked at Christian Brown and Peyton Watson as like, okay, we got these guys in the same draft. They're on the same timeline. But if you think about it, the the progression has not been linear, right? Like CB was clearly ahead of Peyton, but you have to remember, like, CB played 3 years of college ball and was good. Like that third year, Peyton played 1 year of college ball and didn't really play. Like, he's a couple of years younger, so it actually makes sense that he was always sort of not as good as CB, and now he's like, dare I say, on his level, maybe passing him. Like, we need more sample size. Don't get me wrong, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it almost would have been better for the Nuggets if they each had like one more year on their rookie deal, because then this whole thing might have gone differently, right? Like, if they had to pick, they might have chosen differently. But it's like now they already paid Christian. I think they wanted to pay Peyton, but he made this move to bet on himself, which it clearly seems like it's probably the right move for now. But that would be kind of like a fascinating thing to know, is like value around the league, who would be valued higher. And I have to think the guy that's like maybe a little more versatile defensively, a little longer, and more willing to shoot the threes, probably more valuable in today's game.
It's pretty cool. It's you could argue either way.
Right.
My personal opinion, I think Peyton is like the third or fourth most important player on the team, just in terms of obviously. I think you're right in the way that they came into the league. Christian's floor is so much higher than Peyton's
He's a
floor,
low mistake player. Yeah.
right? But Peyton's ceiling is also so much higher than Christian's ceiling. Not, and it's not Christian's fault. It doesn't make Christian a bad player either. And I think so. The conversation that kind of pushes the conversation out a little bit, even to Cam and Aaron, and like, what do we do with them too? Because I think they kind of all fit into this like 2 through 4 role of not Murray, not Jokic, the guys who fit in between. But I gotta say, I think, yeah, Peyton is he talk about value and who's valued around the league. I think Peyton does a lot of things that catch eyes. The things that, other teams are going to play the Nuggets and are like, who's that? Type of moves and type of things that he does, both offensively and defensively at this point. So if it were me, I guess we can get back to this. Actually, I'll let you go first. So if everyone's healthy, do you think it's just like the day one starters to close games?
I think that's what they would go with, but I'm going to go in an even different direction than you. I can't remember if you were on the show with me or not, but I think Miroslav asked me who was the lineup I would most want to see, and I basically said the starters plus THJ, because you get all the size and scoring and everything from your main four guys, and then you got a two guard who can really shoot it. So yeah, that wouldn't be our best defensive lineup, but in terms of like other teams having to guard us, I think if you have Jokic Murray pick and roll with AG in the dunker spot and Cam on one side and THJ on the other, that's just going to be a nightmare for teams to guard. Maybe we'll see it some, but I'm interested to hear, your counter to that.
So my locks, I would have obviously Jamal and Jokic, right? I think Peyton and Aaron are probably 3 and 4 for me. And I'm at the point where I would make a choice between Christian and Cam, depending on what makes sense for that situation. In last year was kind of similar in that way, where Russ was kind of that, like, he's a starting. We kind of see him. I think Michael Malone said this, is that he kind of sees him as a starting caliber player, and that he's willing to put him in. Whoever might be out, he's willing to put Russ in. I would look at the other team and say, if it's Christian, who do you guard? Right, because that's where the value is. Do they have someone for him to defend and defend well? Like, if you're playing Um, if you're playing the Warriors and the task is chasing all these guards around, maybe that's not the best place for Christian to start. Or if you're playing a team that really just lacks that offensive punch, maybe that's also not the best place for Christian to start. Maybe you want to go with Cam. But if they do have a guy, um, they'll play the game of who is a good matchup for Christian Brown has continued to be enigmatic. But
Yeah.
I think about those kinds of like larger guards and like small wings, that kind of thing. Your Jimmy Butlers, your Anthony Edwardses of the league. I think that's a valid situation where you're like, okay, Christian, you're a good solid piece. You're not going to get bullied physically. And I hear you in Tim starting. I just don't. I appreciate him so much off the bench and
No,
having that
I'm
punch
talking more
there,
about closing.
or sorry, closing games.
I'm fine with Christian starting.
He's a little too much of a defensive liability for me,
It's fair.
especially next to Jamal, next to Jokic. You should score enough points, especially if Cam is also on the court. Um,
I just think what's so difficult, Ray, is like you were talking about the trade-off. Like, is there somebody for CB to guard? Because if he's getting cooked, it really doesn't make sense to have him out there in crunch time. And I think it kind of goes back to like, well, can you really keep benching a guy if he's like a starter and he's going to make all this money? And the thing is, like, they benched MPJ all the time, and MPJ even made more on that contract than CB's going to make. So I don't think he'd be selfish about it. I think he would understand, like, hey, this might be the better matchup because, conversely, what I said about Peyton earlier about how he missed a couple and he's not afraid to put it up, CB is afraid to put it up. We've seen this. He'll miss a couple wide open threes and he just won't look at the rim anymore. You cannot have that in the NBA and be like an effective crunch time player because, as we've already seen, teams just don't guard him.
and he kind of what you're saying, like he is such a high character guy and such a team first guy, and it's not like he
Yeah,
wouldn't play.
right.
He's still gonna have a big role on the team no matter what.
And you
But I
still
think
got your money. So it's not even like, oh,
exactly.
you're getting your minutes cut. Now your numbers won't be as good. Like, you already got the bag. It should just
It
be
can,
about winning now.
and one of the reasons like Cam is my other guy is like who I might sit is like respectfully, you're not that important. I mean, you are important, but you're not important in the way that, for example, like you're saying, when Michael Porter sat, you're sitting $40 million, and
Right. It's a different
this
conversation.
this elite talent who needs to be involved more. And one of the things I've seen recently, especially, I really like Cam lead, like I don't want to say leading the bench unit because he's not
Yeah.
like the point guard or anything, but it lets Cam take on more something closer to the role he had in Brooklyn, where
Yeah.
he can kind of be the focal point of the offense. And I think that gives him not just the opportunity, but also the confidence to say that, like, this is I'm supposed to be taking these shots, which I think is what he needs. I think he needs like the we believe in you type of energy to really contribute in that way, and he's shining in the last few games in there.
He's looked so much more comfortable the last couple weeks versus like the first 2 weeks of the season. And he was never doing anything wrong. He was just missing and like not really that involved. And I think in a weird way, Aaron being out has like forced him to take on a bigger role in terms of aggression and shot taking. And luckily they've been going in, but I definitely think he's a confidence rhythm player, just like so many guys in the NBA are. Like those first couple go down, and now you feel like it's gonna keep working. So I've appreciated you know, his level of aggression, but also like thirst, right? Like Tim Hardaway comes in the game and he knows he's in there to shoot, like it's going up. But I almost feel like in a weird way, like Tim's good start has like now rubbed off on Cam because he's like, oh, this is fun. Like we just pass the ball around and we get good shots. Like he realizes that he doesn't have to do as much as he did in Brooklyn to get a good shot. It's almost like even though they play differently, he's almost back to that like Phoenix role of where he's just standing in the corner and getting wide open looks. Like he gets to move around a little more now, but he's mostly still gonna get a good diet of shots.
Yeah, and it's something that, honestly, Julian also should be taking to heart. That he should be watching. I'd like to see him
Yeah.
taking notes on what Tim is doing and what Cam is doing as an understanding of how to strike that balance of we need you to believe in yourself, but we also need you to play collaboratively in a way that makes a lot of sense. I think it would, because there's some real opportunity to kind of shift gears a little bit. If the Nuggets have 10 guys, who would you say the 10th guy is?
All right, so starters, and then you have Bruce, Peyton, Val, Tim Hardaway Jr. is 9. See, I kind of feel like they just have 9 because Julian.
Spencer
I
is
haven't,
starting.
I haven't hated his process this year,
Mm-hmm.
but he just hasn't been hitting shots. Oh yeah, Spencer. Well, see, I can't count Spencer because he's on a 2-way. So until like, I'm sorry if that's a cop out answer, but like, I can't even like talk about a playoff rotation unless a guy I know is going to be there.
Let's, for the sake of the mental experiment, assume that around the trade deadline, Denver dumps Hunter Tyson and signs Spencer to a full contract.
So in that case, I don't think he would be in the playoff rotation. I think he would be a situational defender. I think you've seen a couple times this year where they put him in like the end of a quarter for like one stop just because they wanted to keep somebody else out of foul trouble. So I don't consider that in the rotation, but I feel like that's how he would be used unless there was an injury or like really bad foul trouble.
Okay. I will be honest. My borderline guy is Bruce. And I still love Bruce.
So you're having Cam run the offense, bench offense then with like Peyton, Val, and Spencer,
Well,
or like
that kind of, so getting to where I'm trying to go with this, I think there's a lot of opportunity for anybody in that back five, whether it maybe it's Zeke, I don't know. That's always, yeah, I don't, you never really know. It's probably not Zeke, but Julian, Jalen Pickett, those two, in particular, I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to overtake Bruce in the rotation if, one, they recognize the value that Bruce provides from a defense and energy perspective, and just because I think that's like number one. Yeah, okay, maybe Bruce is only shooting 30% from three and he's putting up 6 points a game and 2 assists, and the offense, the backup point guard gets bogged down a lot, but he's providing so much impact in other ways. And as an energy guy and as like a heart and soul guy, that, I think they should be noticing that that's what the team needs from that spot. And if you can do that, give 80% of what Bruce gives there and be just a solid offensive player, you're probably in there. I mean, DA probably gives you that shot to be that sort of like fourth, or I'm gonna say fourth guard, but like, yeah, to
I mean,
take on that role.
I get what you're saying, but it's like I don't know how much of that is a mentality thing and how much of that is like an athleticism thing. Like I think Bruce is just a better athlete than those two. So
I don't think not at 29,
I
not
don't know. Like
29
I
post
don't think
ACL.
I
I
don't
just don't
think
see it.
Julian can move his feet that way, and I don't think Pickett is really just all that quick and athletic. Like he's kind of a smaller guard, so it's tough.
I don't think Bruce is all that athletic right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And still love him. Always love Bruce. Please stay forever. Please retire in Denver. I just, um, yeah, I think they have a shot. I'll put it that way. Um, so here's a separate conversation. I think Valanciunas has been one of the most important Nuggets. Would you agree? I think it's like a general, like it's working well, right?
Without a doubt.
There are some moments, I think about the Bulls game in particular, where it's a collaborative thing. Some of it is that they can't get him the ball. Some of it is that teams are putting out lineups that stretch him out in a way that makes Denver very vulnerable defensively. What do you think of the idea of Denver pursuing as much as the we're working with like Twin Towers lineups at moments, and Valanciunas has been such a godsend for the team. What do you think of the idea of the Nuggets exploring like a small ball unit over the next couple of months?
Um, I mean, I feel like they already have that when they put AG at the 5. We just never see it in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they don't have it because AG is hurt.
Oh, well,
And I
sure.
don't know if AG can, I don't know if that's a thing that AG can do in the playoffs, maybe, but again, over the next
But
couple of months.
but
So
if
you
you
don't.
remember, like when that worked, who was the 4 on that lineup? It was Jeff Green, right? We don't have a Jeff Green type body at the 4 really. Like Zeke, he doesn't play like how big he is.
Can?
He's way smaller. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
but Jeff wasn't big in that way. He's not like bodying people. He
yeah,
was I think the advantage he provided is
maybe
he was
Spencer.
flexible.
I don't know, but I think they're not going to trust Zeke in the playoffs. I don't see that.
This is likely. I don't see them putting Zeke in these moments. I think about Doron Holmes as that guy who's like, I
Well,
don't
not
know
this year.
if I think some of it is physical, where when he's played, when I've seen him play, I like how he plays. He's fitting in. He can shoot, which is way more than you can shoot in a consistent way that you believe in.
Hmm.
At least for me, I believe in his shot. Like I see it, it looks good, it goes in most of the time. The form is solid. It seems replicable in a way that like Spencer or Zeke, you're like, oh, Zeke made 2 threes last night. That's crazy. I wouldn't think that is crazy for Duran, but I think he needs somebody else who's next to him who can take on some of that physical burden of paint management because he's a lot like Bruce or anybody who's coming off that a kind of major injury. I still think there's a lot of that last 5% that you get back is big. But I would be really interested if they could work him in maybe as the 4 next to. I mean, they've put Spencer at the 5. If you wanted to go like Spencer, Duran, Cam, if you want, I think that kind of thing, or Spencer. And obviously, you don't trust Zeke in the playoffs, and I don't either. But Duran, and Zeke together, that seems promising in the way that you can put Zeke in the type of role that makes sense for him, have him play defense and shoot threes, while Duran is actually the guy who you post up and who you hit in the high post and who you play through.
Maybe I think we're never going to get full transparency from the Nuggets on what their plan is, but I'm gonna lay it out as best to you the way I think I understand it. I think that Duran being a rookie in his second year who didn't play last year because of injury, they still look at him as like a long-term developmental piece. And so even though they're trying to win now with Jokic, if he's not ready, it doesn't make sense for them to throw him in there to get reps now because one, you don't want to kill a kid's confidence, right? If he's like not good enough. And two, I really do think they're trying to make Zeke Naji work as best as they can so that they can either move him or, at least have his confidence be at a level where he can help you if need be. Because I don't think it makes sense to like play Duran if he's like slightly better than Zeke, but not really good enough to play in the playoffs. Because then you have like a guy who's young and you don't want to trade him, but Zeke also isn't like untradeable. And I know a lot of people are probably yelling at me right now saying like Zeke's not tradable anyway. Like I get that. But I also understand slow playing the Duran thing and just kind of trying to get as much out of Zeke now as you can.
Yeah, I get that too. I mean, I'm down for the pump and dump scheme on Zeke. That would be great. And I do think he has had when he's had good moments. It's still if it's not next to Duran, it's been next to Val. He's still
He's been rebounding lately.
some of those things that I was talking about. Like they do kick into effect. The fact that like he can contribute if he doesn't have to box out the other team's best rebounder, but just their second best rebounder, he
Right.
doesn't seem so small.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have to be the guy you play through because Val's on the inside, he's
Yeah.
just standing in the corner and maybe he hits a couple of threes,
For sure.
and you're not slapping your forehead at so many
He
Zeke
even had a
Naji.
nice finish on the break yesterday.
He did. He did. I feel like
Thought he
the
should
new
have dunked it, but hey, 2 points is 2 points.
put the ball in the basket, bro. That's it's with with Peyton. I'm like, I want go dunk that, bro. I want, but Zeke, I'm just like, just make sure it goes in. At this point, it's almost more
Yeah.
impressive for me when when he lays a ball up than when he dunks, uh, especially on the fast break. So.